So it's time for another Manx National Heritage event. We're down here to the House of Manannan. Nicola's with us, and an exhibition you put together, Traders of the Lost Arts. I like it. That's very, very catchy. And anyway, tell us about it.
So, I'm quite familiar with all of this material because I've worked at the museum now for a long time, and when you're in the stores you kind of come across it, and we've done some store moves, and I really love these items. I know they're really humble to look at, and we've got much shinier, fancier objects in the museum, but there's something about these really humble objects that were crafted by hand that they've been in the museum collections for a very long time. In fact, some of the objects in this room predate the Manx Museum, and they were collected by the Natural History and Antiquarian Society, and then when the Manx Museum got its premises, they were donated as part of the founding collections of the museum. So the museum have always had this interest in collecting this sort of folk culture, and I just thought it would be lovely to get a load of it out and really show it off.
I always love this idea of you going up into the attics or in the cellars and finding all this stuff that's been catalogued and sitting there just waiting for its day, almost.
Yeah. Well, we did a big project a few years ago where we had to move stores, and we did a big cataloguing project as part of that, so it was a bit easier for me. I wasn't having to rummage quite so much. It was all on our database, fortunately, because it would have been impossible otherwise. But I had a kind of good idea that we had a lot of these objects relating to old trades and crafts in particular. During the late 40s and 50s, when the Manx Folklife Survey was established, they specifically wanted to collect things relating to Manx trades, Manx farming, the domestic way of life here on the Isle of Man. So a lot of the implements here, aren't too different, maybe the blacksmith tongs and things like that you would get in other rural communities, but there are actually some objects here that are uniquely Manx that you won't find anywhere else, and they might have some similarities to a spade that you'll find in Kerry in Ireland, but the shape and the form of them are exactly Manx. And in fact, the Manx spades are known as Manx spades and have been known as Manx spades for at least 500 years. Yeah, because it's written in one of the old statutes. It's mentioned in a law about customary heirlooms, what you can and can't pass down, and it's called a Manx spade. So even 500 years ago, it must have been significant enough for them to call it by that name.
Interesting. And all this was in your units, or did you go out and appeal to people to find things?
No, I didn't have to appeal to anybody, because all of that hard work was done by the good people that did the Folklife Survey in the late 40s, early 50s. Yeah. Is
it interesting? One thing you almost throw it away, then it's suddenly, wow, I'm glad I kept hold of that, and you being able to document this like this. It's going to be an eye-opener for so many people.
Yeah, well, that is the really remarkable thing. So at a time when maybe museums across the water were collecting objects that related to the good and the great, and fancy objects of foreign antiquity, the Manx Museum, we were collecting things, fine art and things, but they also understood it was really important to document the ordinary life of the working people. They called it folk culture.
Because that's what can get lost, as you say.
Precisely. And a lot of this stuff, when it came in, was already sitting in outhouses and in buildings. In fact, the mower that's over there in the corner, that was found in a field by one of the folklife collectors, because one of the informants had said, I've seen this farm implement and it's got a Manx name written on it, and you should go and look for it, and it's out in the fields in Derby somewhere. And she did. She went scouring the hedgerows and she found it. That would have been a pile of rust now if she hadn't gone out and found it. So I was really fortunate. I didn't have to do any scouring myself. It was all done for me.
And you're pleased with what you've got here, by the looks of it. It's fantastic. It's such a wide gamut of things as well.
Yeah, it was really hard to choose what to put in. Sadly the walls aren't made of rubber and I can't just keep going, and I had to limit myself. But yeah, I'm really pleased to just see it all in one room, and to see all of the thatching things together and the blacksmith things together, and hopefully that will make sense to people. And I didn't want to do a sort of old-fashioned recreation. I wanted the objects to really pop out, so the objects are like the stars themselves. So.
How long have people got a chance to see it here at House Manannan in Peel?
Until next September.
Oh, so it's up their time.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you're working on something already by now for something else?
Yeah, well, also we're doing some projects relating to this. Of course, it's always on to the next thing. Yeah. This has been a long time coming, actually, because we were hampered by coronavirus, like everybody has been. But we have got some additional side projects relating to this. So over the coming year, because it's on for nearly a whole year, we'll have some events, and there'll be some things on social media, because as I was saying, I had to really restrain myself, and I couldn't put everything in here, and I couldn't put all the stories in here, so there'll be more coming on social media.
Well, this is your chance. Is there anything you're particularly finding you can't find, if you know what I mean?
Oh, no, I mean...
You're happy with everything you got? I mean,
yeah, object-wise, it's more telling those stories. So we've got brilliant stories in the Folklife survey, and, you know, I couldn't just put all of the walls covered in text. But so hopefully we'll be able to put some more stories out that are a little bit longer on our social media, and use some of our audio and video footage as well,
Okay, well, congratulations. You're very pleased with it, and come along and on a day we're recording this, is so wet and windy. This is perfect to get out with the rain, isn't it?
Yeah, and free admission. Yeah, so and then, you know, have a cup of tea and relax, dry off. Yeah.